Anyways, in today's video, I want to talk to you all about the books that I read in April. And I want to see if I can count real quick how many books I read. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books. Which I think is kind of like my average. Last month though, in April, I read mostly books. As in like at least 300-page book. Which is surprising to me because sometimes in the first 3 months of 2025, I feel like I try to read 9 or 10, but like 3 or 4 of them would be like either short chapters or like extra chapters from author or manga volume and stuff like that, which is probably like less than 100 pages, just to make it to that 9 or 10 average of books read every month. But last month I actually read 9 full books and arcs. Out of the 9 books that I read, I actually read 3 of them physically, but one of the arcs that I read on my Kindle, I actually bought the actual book because I love the book so much, and the author is also Indonesian, and I think this is her debut novel, so I want to support my fellow Indonesians. Maybe in the future, if I became an author, I would want that support too, you know? First book that I read in April was Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This is the first book of a, I want to say 3-book series. I don't think she's writing any more books after Daydream. I read my first college sports romance book, and I rated this book a 3-star. I feel like this book has been popular for a long time. I don't feel too old to read this book. It is about, people in college. And the only thing I feel like that might throw some people off is how many characters introduced in this book, and probably in the whole series. So it was a little bit weird for me that there are a lot of characters, first of all, and also some of them are kind of going in and out in the scene throughout the book, but then I feel like we don't really hear about them anymore or read about them anymore. So I'm like, why do you even put this character in the first place, right? And I feel like the reason why people or writer might want to have a bunch of different characters in a book is if they are going to write about them, in a second or third or fourth book. So I'm not sure if it's really necessary to introduce so many characters. I get it, like he's in a hockey team, she's in a figure skating team, so there might be other people in the team, and just to kind of make it a little bit more real, that they should have more people, like more characters. But I don't know, I just feel like it's a little bit overwhelming. Like I honestly don't remember half of the people in his hockey team just because I don't bother learning their names and their story and stuff like that. Not that there's a lot of background stories about those characters. I do enjoy how spicy it is. Let me tell you, it is pretty spicy. Not as spicy as other books. I feel like it's not just all about the physical stuff that they do. Like I do see the characters' arc as well in this book. How Anastasia kind of peel back the layers that she has closed up basically from other people about herself, and also how Nate kind of show his true self in front of her. Like it might be like a physical attraction at first, but eventually they actually talk about themselves, about their origin story, and they can be true to themselves basically, which I love about a couple. When you can fart or poop or shower in front of the other people without being ashamed. But I feel like if you truly love somebody, you should be able to just be yourself, and you're not afraid to talk to them about anything that you have in your mind. And I think these 2 characters actually have that in this book. Next book that I read after this was When in Rome by Sarah Adams. I don't have the physical copy. I did borrow them from Libby. A lot of people have talked so highly about Sarah Adams' When in Rome book series, so I decided to give it a read and see it for myself. And I did rate this book 3-star. Again, pretty solid book. I do love the story. And it's kind of like a little bit of a small town romance as well. But the only thing that I feel like the author, Sarah Adams, can go more into it is about the female main character's kind of like background. I think she's like a famous singer, or yeah, I think she's a singer, like a solo singer, not in a band. But I feel like Sarah Adams didn't really go through a lot of like her origin story, and I don't feel like the female main character is a famous singer when I read the book. I feel like we do get a lot more background story about the male main character. He is from a small town. He went to New York for love and he came back home and stuff like that. I do feel that we learn a little bit more about the male main character than the female main character, but I do want to read more of her story, being like someone famous, a singer and stuff like that. But anyways, all in all, it's still a pretty good book. I would definitely read the second and third book. I think she probably will have the fourth book coming out sometime in the future. The third book that I read in April is called The Kiss Countdown by Ada Easton, and she is my new comfort read now. It used to be Lauren Lane, which she still is. I still need to read the third book of the Central Park Pack series by Lauren Lane, but Lauren Lane was kind of like my comfort read. Like if I'm about to read a reading slump or if I need like a palate cleanser, I think her books would do it for me. But I think Ada Easton will actually be able to do it for me as well. Anyways, The Kiss Countdown is about Amory, who used to work for this big event planner company, and she basically just got fired because she wasn't able to focus in her job because her mom got sick. She was trying to start up her own event planning business. Somehow she bumped into this guy. His name was Vincent. Vincent is a astronaut. This took place in Houston, which make total sense. They kind of got tangled up in this kind of like a little bit of like a white lie between her and her ex-boyfriend, and also him and his sister. So they kind of like fake date throughout the book. She also moved into her house because she had to let go of her apartment, and it was just a very cute story. I love it how the book touched on many different things about her and her family, his and his family, a little bit of like grief. I cannot wait to read the second book. I know it is out and it's about Vincent's younger sister, I guess. So I can't wait to read that. Hopefully sometime soon, because like I said, this author's like writing style is just very comforting for me. And if anytime in the future I need a palate cleanser, I would definitely look into her book to hopefully keep me reading and continue on to the next like book in my TBR list. And the battery is dying again, so I have to switch it up real quick. The next book that I read in April is called Save the Date by Allison Raskin. This is actually an arc that I requested from NetGalley, because if you're like me and you were watching BuzzFeed videos about 8 to 10 years ago, you probably know who Allison Raskin is. And I'm not sure if she's a writer at BuzzFeed or if she's a video producer, but she's always in some of the videos. And I always follow like the videos that have her in it because I just like her. I think after everybody who's popular from BuzzFeed left the company, I don't really follow any of them anymore. But it turns out that Allison has been writing books, and I think this is probably her third or fourth book, but it could be her first romance book. And I honestly didn't have high expectation from this book because some of the reviews that I kind of read on Goodreads, they're not really the best reviews, so I have low expectation. I thought it would be just like a maybe 2 or 3 star read for me, but it turns out that the book is actually pretty good. I think I rated this book 4 star. It was kind of based on her real life story where she got engaged, and he basically ended the engagement abruptly like 6 months before they were supposed to get married. So it's the premise of the book. I think the main character's name is Emma. She was engaged. The guy basically left her out of the blue about 6 months before the wedding. However, she wants to save her date, and she wants to try to find a new groom instead, which is, I know, weird and bananas. That's what like she called herself throughout the book, because she's actually a marriage and family therapist. She met a couple people from her past, but she also met a couple like new people. I don't want to say too much about it. I was definitely rooting for this one guy that she met throughout like her journey of finding the new groom. And like I said, the book was actually really good and I do love it. I think those of you who like lighthearted, kind of like romance comedy book would love this. I also love how she's super close to her family and she has an older sister who's kind of like overbearing and a bit controlling, and I kind of can relate to her sister because I'm the oldest. I have 2 younger sisters, so I could be a little bit bossy and a little bit controlling, I guess. And let me know if actually you've read it, because the book came out I think last month or so, and she's kind of been going on a small book tour. Like she was at Ripped Bodies I think last month or something, promoting her book. I just wish like more authors come to Las Vegas, you know, because we do have a pretty decent Barnes & Noble here where it can actually seat people and we can do a whole author event. But hopefully somebody will stop by Las Vegas. The next book that I actually read a physical book, and it is DC Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've read so many good things about Taylor Jenkins Reid's books in general, and I really want to read this one because it has been adapted to a TV series on Amazon Prime, I think. Yes, Amazon Prime. And I've watched the trailer and I honestly kind of want to watch the whole series now that I've read the book. This book format is pretty interesting. It's kind of formatted as interviews, so it kind of makes it seem like you're reading a magazine, but it's like a pretty long one. But I feel like that's what makes this book interesting, and that's also what makes me read this book so quickly. But because it is based on like an interview, I just want to see how they kind of like make it into like a TV series, because you don't really get to read the conversation between the characters or between the people in the band and stuff. So I'm curious how they would do that in the TV show. So let me know in the comment below if you have read the book and if you've watched the TV shows or TV series, how that would compare, if it's super different, and whether you like it or not. The next book that I read is called Julie Chen is Dead by Lian Zhang. Zhang. I can never say it correctly, but I think it's Lian Zhang. Anyways, this is her debut novel. It is a mystery thriller / also horror, which honestly kind of makes me stop a little bit before reading this book, because I don't really read horror. I am a scaredy cat. I would never read anything scary at night, especially. I had that experience with Starling House a couple months back, so I would never do that again. But this book is surprisingly a very good book. I gave this book a 5-star, which is weird because, first of all, this is not really the genre that I usually read, but I think the 5-star is definitely deserved because this story in the book is just insane. So it's basically about twin sisters, Julie and Chloe, I think. They technically lived together until they were 4 years old when their parents died from a car accident, and they kind of got separated. So one of their aunts from like, I think the mom's side or something, took care of Julie, and then Chloe was adopted out, and she was adopted by someone who's like really rich. So her life was really easy. She has everything. Like, she lives in a big New York apartment. She's an influencer. She has a lot of followers. Basically, she does kind of like lifestyle content, and she got paid to do it. When Julie actually was kind of poor, she doesn't have any money, and she worked at a grocery store, and it's kind of like her life is like a dead end basically. So one night, Chloe called Julie. That phone conversation was a little bit weird. Like, Chloe was saying sorry about something, and then the line got cut off. Out of curiosity, Julie decided to visit Chloe in her New York apartment, only to find that her sister is dead. So when that happened, Julie thinks that this whole apartment and all of these things that Chloe left behind are gonna be wasted. So she decided to did the craziest thing, which is to assume herself as her sister Chloe. So Julie, as Chloe, was saying that her sister Julie is dead. But oh my gosh, this book is taking you to a very like up and down, twists and turns like situation, and I just love it. I love it so much. And when they come out with the book in paperback, I probably will get it because the book has came out already and it's only in hardcover, and I don't really like hardcover. But anyways, if you are into like mystery thriller, like unhinged basically storyline, I would highly recommend Julie Chen is Dead. The end of the book is, I guess insane is the word that I can think of, and maybe unhinged, but it was just wow, very unexpected, and I wouldn't think that Julie / Chloe would do something like this. So yeah, crazy overall, and it's really good. I honestly cannot wait for Liam to write more books, maybe in the same genre, maybe in a completely different one, but I do like her writing style and I can't wait to see more from her. Next book that I read is actually another arc called Hook, Line, and Single by Phoebe McLeod. This is about Ruby, who basically has sworn off men. She thinks that whatever men did for her before, like her ex-boyfriend, she can probably do it herself. So she doesn't want to fall in love, she doesn't want to be in a relationship at all. And she actually currently lives with Sam, her best friend, I think from like childhood. And Sam is the complete opposite. She is someone who wants to fall in love. One day Sam decided that they should go on a vacation, they should go on a cruise and live their mundane life behind for a week. And the thing that Ruby doesn't know is that Sam actually signed both of them up into this single mingle cruise event. And obviously, because Ruby doesn't want to be in a relationship, she doesn't want a boyfriend, she sworn off man, she was super mad at Ruby for doing this behind her back. However, she was still going to the single mingle event thing on the first day, and she actually came across this guy. I forgot what is his name, but basically he's kind of in the same boat as her. His friend signed him up without him really knowing what the single event is all about. So they kind of decided to buddy up so they don't have to meet other people. I think I rated this book 3 stars. It was a pretty solid read. It's kind of slow in the beginning. I feel like the author gave way too many background information about Ruby and Sam in the beginning, and they didn't really get on the cruise until like 30 or 40 or 50% of the book, which again I think it's pretty slow. The next book that I read, which I actually read as an arc, is Salty Spice and a Little Bit Nice by Cynthia Timothy. I actually love this book so much. I rated this book 5 stars, so I decided to buy the physical book. Cynthia Timothy is actually also Chinese Indonesian like me, but she does live in Australia, I believe. So the main character of this book, Ellie, is actually Chinese Indonesian, but she was born and raised here in the US, but her parents moved from Indonesia to America. And I feel like throughout this book, it kind of gives me a sense of how it would look like if all of my family members would also move to America. My parents still live in Indonesia, so I feel like that's what kind of pulled me into this book so much, because I can see myself being Ellie and I can see how my parents would be like if they also moved to America with me when I was a teenager. This book is told from a single POV from Ellie's perspective, so you don't really get Alex's perspective, which is the main character, so you don't really get to see or get to know how he actually felt about Ellie, but you can kind of tell that he's like basically obsessed with her. So I do love it. I kind of cried a little bit toward the end of the book. I think that's why I gave this book a 5 star, but overall I really love her writing style. I cannot wait until she came out with a new book, and I told her that I will read it. So hopefully she's in the process of writing her next book. So the last book that I read in April is The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. I know this book was published like probably in 2009 and it's old and I feel like the hype has passed, but I still decided to read it because I found all 3 books when I started thrifting this year, and it's actually a pretty short book. I think I read it in like a day. The reason why I decided to pick it up now is because the 3rd season of the series on Hulu is about to premiere. I think it's supposed to come out in June or July, so I'm hoping that before then I would be able to read all 3 of the books. I actually love this book so much that I read it all in one day and that I rated them 5-star, which is crazy because before I started reading this book, I thought I would be too old to read it because the characters are all in high school. However, I think the story kind of touches on some of their family as well. It talks about the boy's mom, it talks about her mom. So I think that's why I feel a little bit included in the story. But reading this first book, it just makes me feel like if I were to grow up in America as like an ABC, like an American born Chinese Indonesian, this would be my summer. My summer would look like this. We would have a family friend who lives near the beach where we would visit every summer, and I would be super close with their kids and I would maybe have a crush on one of them and all of that. I feel like I'm getting better at talking about the summary of the book without spoiling the whole entire book for you, so I'm hoping to do more of my reading wrap-up video. Anyways, let me know in the comment down below if you have read any of the books that I read in April, and let me know your thoughts. And if you haven't read any of the books that I was talking about in this video, let me know which one would you pick up probably tomorrow or this month or in the future. And let me know also if you have read a book that you love so much that you think everybody should read, including me. Let me know in the comment. If you want to watch any more bookish videos from me, make sure to watch one of these videos next.